Hello, everybody. It's a big pleasure to see you again today during the live video that I have announced earlier today. We are multi-streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. My name is Nadia Harris. I'm the founder of RemoteWorkAdvocate.com, and I am having an amazing guest today who's joining me from San Francisco, Lisa, who is the CEO and co-founder of Gable. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello, thank you for having me, Nadia.
It's a great pleasure. I just mentioned I recorded a quick live video, like a spoiler, right before this one, 30 minutes ago. And I said I'd love to be there in person, but it's not possible these days. So we'll just have to tough it on video. But I think we'll make use of it, won't we?
We will, definitely.
Okay, perfect. Lisa, really thanks for joining me today. I know that it's early in your time zone. I'm quite about to call it a day here, but I'm really excited that it's such a pleasant ending, so to say, to meet you here. I want to tell you a little bit, guys, about the initiative that Lisa represents, that I believe in very, very strongly. I support it with all my heart, and I'm convinced that this is the future. And it's not only me who says it, it's actually more people. And Lisa is, as I mentioned, the co-founder and the CEO of Gable. And I think that's exactly the moment when we should most probably explain what Gable is, actually. What's Gable and what's the story of Gable? Because we'll be talking about loneliness, the sharing economy, but also about Gable primarily. So what is it?
Great question. So maybe before I'll say exactly what is it, I'll share a story. How did we found Gable, and why did we found Gable? So I'm very familiar with remote work, both as a remote worker, but also as a person that managed teams globally that were remote workers as well. Funny story that I have is that when I first came to San Francisco, this is now my second time transitioning to the States, but first time I came as a remote worker, planning to have a team here of engineers, and I'm a pretty social person, but I soon found out that I am an introvert. So I love having people and being around people, but I don't really like and don't really know how to approach them. So I tried going to some meetups here in the city, to some technological meetups. So most of the time what ended up happening is that I came there, I saw the lecture, I ate some pizza and went home. So it didn't help me, not in terms of, both the social, but also health perspective. And I felt really, really sad. I felt really, really lonely. I really loved the aspect of flexibility of remote work, the ability to work from anywhere, to not having punching a clock, basically. But I was very lonely sitting in my apartment all day. And long story short, I came back to Israel, and I had this in my mind, like, why was I not really successful in that? Fast forward last year, I came back to the States doing an executive MBA program here at Stanford. Graduated in this incredible 2020 year, and thought a lot about this, and started working with my partner Omri, based in Israel, on this premise of how to fix loneliness effectively. Is it only our problem? Is it a global thing? And when we basically, in a time frame of a few months, we have actually interviewed hundreds of remote workers, and we saw the same things over and over. Loneliness and ability to make connections are number one problem of people that are working remotely. Of course, there is the productivity aspect and additional things, but this is something that was crystal clear. And with that, we decided to found Gable. And what we do, we transform residential homes and commercial spaces into flexible distributed workspaces for companies, remote professionals to come work from. So in all of our spaces, they're very different from one another, but they all have office grade amenities. Also, when we work with companies, we roll out the spaces where companies want us to be, creating work environments where people live as opposed to where people work. And we believe that now, especially now, and I think COVID actually accelerated this with the adoption, with so many companies already understanding that remote work is here to stay. It's something that we need to adopt. But how do we do this? How do we create this environment? That is something that we believe that we are helping to shape. And I like to call that what we're building is the first workspace as a service. So we're not creating a space for the sake of the space, but actually creating a full experience. So this is Gable in a nutshell. Long story short.
In a nutshell, but
In a nutshell.
yeah, but I think it pretty much explains everything. If you are into remote work, and I mean, you are into working from home, that's sure, okay, today. But if you're into remote work, you'd better be, because it's here to stay. But anyways, if you are already within this concept, if you believe in it already, then you must know that Gable is definitely something that will speed up with its development. I'm pretty sure that that's what's going to happen, because I also speak with many remote workers. I'm one myself, and I've been for years. And I must say that what hit me as well, and I suffer and suffer and suffer deeply every day, it's the fact that I have to be stuck at home. Not that lonely, because I meet that great people like Lisa, for example, online, and they really give me this pleasant experience. I don't feel lonely. I don't, but I'd love to be different places. And this is also what Gable is about. So if you're watching us now and you think that, well, but I really want to work from home, then we just really want to tell you and stress it once again that remote work is a possibility that is going to grow and give everybody the chance, not only living in big cities, to work for great companies, but also people working and living in rural areas to work for really A players on the market. That's the aim. So basically, another question that I have for you, Lisa, is from you, what you just explained is, Gable, we should treat it as a service. So, and I think that it's really, in its concept, it's actually part of the sharing economy, isn't it?
Completely agree. I think that one of the things that we want to differentiate ourselves is that we are, first of all, we're not a real estate company. Our goal is to provide, to leverage underutilized space, and that can be anything, right? So here with the sharing economy, effectively, we are a marketplace. We have our hosts who are either homeowners, who are real estate entrepreneurs, even remote professionals by themselves that want to open and leverage their space, whatever it may be, in order to provide for the other side of the market, our guests, our users, with beautiful, productive places to come work from, that are close by with all the amenities that they need. And the fact that we vet both ends and match them together. So there is a lot of focus here on the concept of sharing, right? On using those unutilized space in different purposes. And I think that helps a lot, especially when we talk about rural areas as well, locations that don't have those go-to places, or even don't have anything, right? But why not have a beautiful location to go that is close to your home, and for others to leverage that as one, additional income, but second, also the social aspect of it. So I think there is a lot of this here at play.
Yeah, absolutely. And basically, in terms of the beneficiaries, because you just mentioned this, you just touched this topic. I personally believe that everybody's the beneficiary, but let's dig into this a bit deeper. Who's the beneficiary of Gable?
So I think there, if we look at our target audience, let's say, I think we have two main ones. The first one, and we will always be customer obsessed, user obsessed, are going to be our remote professionals. How do we make them come to our places? How do we make sure that we cater to all the needs in, having your beautiful work set up, but why would you go to another place that is close to you? So making sure that we provide everything that we need for our remote professionals. So this is one beneficiary. And I think that the other ones are actually companies, HR leaders, CEOs, even COOs, that want to adopt remote work. They want to make sure, but they want to make sure that their biggest asset, who is their employees, are happy. And we believe that this solution, having the single pane of glass of workspace as a service with everything on top, with experiences, with amenities and all of that, that is something that really appeals to different decision makers within the company, whether there is the HR persona in the company, or even the COO and COO, for both the employees, but also in terms of costs. People now understand, and companies, small and big, understand that they don't need this office space for long term. They don't need this, but they do want to provide something for the employees that they will enable them to work from anywhere. So I think those are our main personas that we're targeting, and believe that we create a good solution for them.
I recently published a post where I got a bit controversial, maybe, but I mentioned that the office is dead, at least for the most part, okay, and at least for the majority. And that's really true. And what did I have in mind with this? I wrote this because I believe that I worked with many companies really from all around the world. And the fun part is, obviously, I work with HR departments and remotely implementing remote work, but not only, also helping HR prepare recruitment strategies, hire people effectively, and so on and so forth. And the funny thing is that all of these companies usually mention that we only hire the best. And I also published this article recently stating that if you don't hire remotely, you don't hire the best, but you just hire locally, okay? And let's put it that way. Maybe you hire the best, but locally. So don't talk about A players, because what you're doing is just, you're really just taking a look at your local talent pool. And the problem today is that I see, and this is something that I am willing to challenge desperately, is the fact that I really don't believe in what was happening in the past years, that people were massively moving to big cities, really taking sometimes huge loans, paying off universities that they never could afford, and they actually couldn't afford in the first place, just to get this job in one certain company that they really dreamt of, and sometimes leaving their families or all their lives and making ends meet, living in this big, crowded and polluted city, commuting to work for such a long time, taking subways, cars, taxis, anything you can imagine, just for the sake of working for this great company. And I think that what's happening already in the San Francisco Bay Area, there are many companies today who are the leaders in this whole mindset shift, saying, yes, we will hire people remotely. And what I see also is that people are actually starting to leave big cities because they say, stop, I don't want to participate in this rat race anymore. Is that right?
Completely agree. Completely agree. And I think to start this conversation with the first sentence that you mentioned, with the work, like the office is dead, I completely agree. I think the office as we know it is dead, and now it's time to build something new, right? This is, I think, from the biggest crisis come the biggest innovation. So I think this is exactly the time to do something like that. In addition, I see this in the Bay Area, like massive exodus from the Bay Area to different locations, to rural locations. Even Tahoe is now booming. So so many friends that I had here that moved, and they said exactly the same. I don't want to pay high price for rent. I don't want this commute. I don't want all of this stress. I can have much more in a different location. I can still work. I want to work for a great company, but why do I have to stay where this company headquarters is? So based on that, I think companies have to actually have this mindset shift. Otherwise, they will lose talent. They will bleed talent, and they will not be relevant in the upcoming years. Because this is where the world is going to, and employees will demand it. It's not going to be a benefit. Oh, come work remotely. It is going to be a statement. If you're not offering this to your employees, you will not get A players. You will not get this talent because they will be able to get this in another company, and you will lose. So I think companies need, and I see this, the more we speak with CEOs, with leaders, we see that all are thinking, how do I get this talent? How do I make them stay? How do I attract this talent? And they understand that there is a problem in the forced remote that we saw right now, right? Because everybody were forced to work remotely from home, only from home. And this is not what remote work is all about. It is something that was forced upon us. A lot of good things came out of it in terms of the mindset shift and understanding that this can work, but the full transition is yet to come. And the full solution will be a combination of many tools and many things. And I think here again, it's where we want to position ourselves. It's providing the tools for leaders, for employees, also to have the benefits of both worlds, of working from anywhere and having your great work environment, but also having a place to come that will help, that will be a change of scenery, that will enable you to be productive, that will even help you to meet with your colleagues if you're working locally with other team members, but also people in your neighborhood, in your let's say hyper local community. And I think this is where the future leads, and this is where we want to also lead the way.
Yeah, this is a super broad subject, and I always, whenever I touch it, I'm
Agree.
like, explode here, you know? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you must know that Lisa and I, we talk regularly every once in a while, and whenever we touch one of these things, it's like, you know, we could be literally for hours. That's true. But yeah, I mean, what happened yesterday? I actually had a really interesting conversation with a manager from London who told me a really interesting thing. He said, you know, besides the fact that they're saying that remote work is really starting to thrive in their company because they're changing their management style, which is something which needs to happen, I would say, from strict bullheaded management to leadership. That's definitely the thing. Yeah, so performance-based culture, in other words.
Definitely.
And exactly, that's what we need. And that's the majority why remote work is so controversial, because many companies just don't understand it, because they don't dig into it, because they don't keep learning, but they're stuck, I guess, with their minds in some systems in the past that they think it's always been this way, so it's going to be this way. But I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. That's what I can say clearly. However, he told me yesterday, this manager, that, you know what, Nadia, he said, the tragedy of this whole situation right now is that he said that there's so many people who moved to London, and London is obviously crazy expensive, for somebody even who's starting a junior position somewhere, okay, or
Yeah.
even a big position. It is expensive to live in a nice area, and you know, that's just what it is. And the problem is that usually the spaces that people were renting, or apartments that they were renting, are super small. So they used to spend their whole day outside of the place they live. They would go out to restaurants, bars, or keep working nonstop, being in their offices, and they just came to their apartments to sleep. That's it. But now they're stuck there, sometimes multiple people, right, together, sometimes even with children. And this is crazy right now. And this is the biggest problem. And then I really got a bit, I would say, furious, saying, why does it have to be this way? Why can't we just lead a normal life, have a normal work-life balance, saying we really work for the best, but we literally are not forced to rent spaces that we can't afford sometimes, and just keep spending our days outside and working ourselves to death sometimes, right? And taking overtime and overtime because nothing is
Completely
being
agree.
managed, the proper way. That there's just a certain amount of tasks I can take and perform and deliver with great quality and give me some space to think. And this is the huge shift which has to start happening to really reveal the human nature, socializing, and to see how creativity can boost your performance, and not just saying, do it, do it, do it because I'm your manager. That's completely over, isn't it?
First of all, you speak my language. I love it. I'm like nodding all the time, but it's like, it's, yeah, uh, definitely. I completely agree. And funny story that, like, even for me, I live in San Francisco, and I recently had another startup, which is who is my daughter Emma. It's another startup that has risen with Gable, and we were all in a 2-bedroom apartment, myself, my husband, and Emma. And during this entire time, like even fundraising with investors, so I had like we all shared an office basically. So it was me, my husband, and Emma's changing table in the background. So you can imagine the conversations, and basically, I think that is the biggest point, right? That why do we need, like, why is this our life?
Yeah.
We can live differently. We can leverage different things, and I think especially now we need to think of those creative solutions and how to have the best of all worlds, because even just working from home, you have, and we see this, one is the Zoom fatigue, or like the web fatigue, all the time, back to back, back to back to back. I'm sure, like, I have this all the time. My AirPods, I have already have 2 AirPods, just to get the conversations going. The first 5 minutes on every call is like, I can hear you, you are breaking, wait, you're on mute, all of this. It's okay. I feel it's a lot of survival mode, but let's think past it, right? And I think that's your point. How does the world looks like after this survival mode? And even like going to coffee shops. So I did this all the time. I just wanted to be around people. I just want to have this vibe. But coffee shops, it's never going to be the answer. Like, you go to a coffee shop, you have no idea how the Wi-Fi is going to be. Good luck sitting next to a power outlet if there is even is one. And also after 2 hours, 3 hours, people will start looking at you funny. It's not like it's not meant for it. It's just
Or
people do it.
or you're going to get a heart attack from all the coffee that you have to keep
Exactly.
constantly.
You have to keep doing this. Exactly. So of course it's not a viable solution. In addition, think of, the other alternative. You can say, okay, but you have co-working spaces. Great. So again, let's take my personal example. I live in San Francisco. Majority of co-working spaces are where? Downtown, Market Street.
Yeah,
I want to meet the person that will commute 30 minutes from where I live to downtown SF just to
luck.
work from an office with, I don't know how many people, who those people are, and why, just why, and pay a lot of money to do so. And there is no reason. There is just no reason for this. And that's why I feel exactly what you said. There is a change must be made, and it's a lot of mindset shift, but also having the tools to deliver this change.
Yeah. It's actually today I had another conversation which was very sad for me because there is a company, a global company, and they said, okay, we're hiring people. They can work remotely now for sure. They can work from home. It's all fine. It's all good. I'm like, okay. And what happens next? Well, next, most probably they'll go back to the office. I said, okay, but won't you be adapting a hybrid model? Well, maybe we will be. And I said, okay, so what about people? What about their availability? How do they need to work? And then the manager tells me, and I'm like, oh, come on, I don't think you got the whole point. They're like, okay, so yes, it's a 9 to 5 job, strict, a 9 to 5. And I'm like, okay, so what are your maybe KPIs? What's that? Yes, how fast you respond to a phone call when we call you. I'm like, okay, what's the fun part is that this company was from Europe. They were looking for recruiters to source for candidates in Asia. And my question is, which is complete nonsense, and conduct interviews with candidates from Asia if there is a significant time difference. So, isn't your KPI successful recruitment and interviews that you conduct whenever you are available and the candidate pretty much? Or is it how fast you answer the phone call, the phone when your
Wow.
manager is calling? Ridiculous. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I don't think that we are on the same page here. I don't really believe in this. So, yeah, I really agree to what you're saying, Lisa. And I think that co-working spaces, they are also a bit of a different target because they primarily solved the problem of companies willing to scale, not really having to invest sometimes in huge office spaces, providing a fancy location. I know one co-working space for a fact that I love the design and I'd love to be there, but it's so expensive that it would be cheaper for me to probably rent my own place because it's so fancy, right? And the problem is again that why are we really getting into consumption again like crazy instead of using unused space which is already available? I think that what the world is showing us this year is teaching us a lot, that maybe we should change our ways of thinking a bit and start analyzing what is really important and what the true gold is in the world. And I don't mean money, okay? How we can invest in bigger spaces, bigger offices, more equipment, this and that, and boost the economy. But the thing is that we keep leaving behind so many opportunities that could serve its purpose amazingly without having to really start another rat race now to rebuild what was destroyed during the past few months.
Completely agree. And I think a lot. What we also see that there is a lot of focus now on like the company's biggest assets are the people. Is the people, right? That's it. That's the biggest asset of any company, and especially now there are a lot of surveys and research that came out that people are having a lot of anxiety. The mental health is very, very important. And we need to make sure that we cater for solutions for us, basically, for the remote professionals, and not just, okay, again, okay, what okay, let's say, let's companies, the easiest solution can be, okay, let's throw some money at the problem, right? Let's just give them some stipend, let's do something like that. And they probably know what they want. And the bottom line is that not everybody knows what they actually want, what they actually need. They know that they have a problem, but what is the solution? So I think it's very, very important, like, to hear what are the problems, but to make sure that we create a solution that would cater to those problems. And I think now more than ever, we understand that space for the sake of the space is not just, it's not a solution. It's just an enabler to something. But what is the real solution? It's a lot of things. It's focusing on employees' mental health, to making sure that they are able to be productive, to measure them exactly what you said on output. Who cares the 9 to 5? 9 to 5 is basically dead. Like, how could I have, like, again, I'm taking myself as an example, but I see this all the time. Like, I work, like, if you cannot really build a schedule, because I want to be with my family, I want to have this. I'm working with a global team in Israel. We have 10-hour time zone difference. It's impossible. You want to have this flexibility. And also, every time I interview people, I tell them the number one thing that I measure you on is your output, is the fact that we have tasks. I don't care what time, the times that you will do to complete them. That's it. That's what I want. I want, and I think that's um, what we are now thinking, and how leaders are thinking of creating this, the culture, which is such a big world. But I think there is a lot to it in changing this, and I think this is the biggest mind change that is going to happen in how to measure employees that are coming to the office, punching the hours, as opposed to just having them dispersed in
Yeah.
multiple time zones. How to even collaborate in those situations, and those are big questions yet to unanswered, in my opinion. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I'm doing actually, and I'm also fighting this attitude sometimes that yeah, fighting. I know that I'm a fighter, and I always keep saying that I challenge. I go always everything to the contrary. I'm just kidding. No, but I mean, I just don't believe in saying things like it's always been this way. Well, I don't care that it's always been this way. Let's make it better. The problem is that to solutions like Gable to be able to thrive and to grow, it's the whole management style and leadership. The definition of new management style, exactly. I mentioned earlier when we spoke, what are your KPIs? That's fine. But what are your OKRs? I personally introduce, especially in remote teams, I believe that OKRs are the way to go in terms of performance, in terms of motivation, in terms of engagement in the company's mission, vision, values, everything. And this is how things should be measured. And it's not easy. If you have a big company, it's not easy to implement it. If you have a smaller company, you feel like you just need to grow, you just need to move on. You don't have time for that. So the problem that keeps coming back to me over and over again is companies keep asking me, okay, but when we do this, aren't we going to lose our culture? And for me, this question is ridiculous. In the very beginning, I actually studied culture during my MBA. And I must say that, culture by its nature, if you check the basic definition of culture, okay, if you Google it and if you dig into a bit deeper, you're going to clearly see that culture is something that evolves, that changes its nature. People contribute to the culture, okay? So if you have something, and even there are so many remote companies that are amazing with their culture codes, they keep changing the culture codes because the culture keeps changing. So if you're asking me if you transition to remote or hybrid from the office, then if it's not going to change, of course it's going to change. But the only, what was the saying? Now I'm going to blow it now. Oh no, I just wanted to say it. The only constant in life is change. Yes, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Thinking about different
Correct.
things and sometimes I can't catch a breath. Yes, and that's what's the case here. And today we need leadership. Things have changed. And the worst thing that we can do when everything goes back to normal, the question is what is normal and what is everything, is going one step back or 10 steps back. Okay. So
Correct.
think exactly. So if you want to be the leader, then be one for goodness sake and show leadership and really start challenging the reality. All great ideas that happened in the world literally didn't come out of something of a comfort zone, okay? But they were built by creators. That's what I would say. Okay, Lisa, so just a few. Oh, we have a comment. So we have a comment. That's nice. Imagine working for 7 hours remote with approximately 75, 100 days in business trips per year. And suddenly you're put full-time home office. Business trips was the thing I waited for. Now I speak your language. I feel you. Okay. I waited for, and now I'm really suffering stress of not being able to do it. It's different than people moving from office to remote work. I was remote. I want to be able to go to the office at least for a day or two. And it's what business trips gave me. Exactly. You just touched the point that what is happening right now is a forced work from home experience.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, Lisa, how would you tackle this problem? Well, just to sum up what Gable gives you really, what's the idea behind it? How could it be changed?
So I think based on the comment, I actually like this is our vision. Think
Yeah.
about not this year, the forced work from home, but in a few years to be able to actually have my hope, my dreams is like 5 years from now, any remote professional would actually open Gable app worldwide, wherever they are, and book a space to work with local people. Yes, exactly. Yes.
I thought
Exactly that. Exactly that. So to do this and actually emerge in local communities in with either colleagues from the same company, but just people that live there. It's so interesting. It's so amazing to just be inspired every time. Why just, the business trip? I did it so many times. I went to this, this hotel, just go there, sit there. Why? And I work from there. Why? Just go to a location with people, with local people that live there. Is so much inspiring for me. Like I live by this, that for me, if I am like the smartest person in the room, that means that I need to leave the room.
oh,
You
that's what I love the most.
and
Literally.
I really think that there is like, and travel will be back again, but even now, being in, like, even discovering your own local environment, the people next to you, I think more than ever we understand that we want to know our neighbors, we want to know who the people that live around us. And I think Gable enables that. It enables not only having a change of scenery, not only becoming more productive by this change, but having people that enable this. There are a lot of research put into the environment that they work from, and I think this is something that is very important. We want to convey in all of the spaces that we have, um, that we don't just take. First of all, we don't just take a space for the sake of the space that I mentioned before, but we want to create this global network of locations for people, anyone, everyone, to be able to come and work from any Gable around the world and meet like-minded professionals and colleagues. And I think this is the future. This is how I envision our future.
Yeah, because we are missing the human touch. That's true. We are on
Exactly. Human touch
exactly.
is,
Oh,
we are
you know,
human creatures.
right?
That's it.
And the
Social
problem
creatures.
is, right? And everything now is e-commerce, pretty much. Everything is online. And I understand it. I am too. I'm probably more virtual than real sometimes. That's how I feel. But it makes me a bit scared because I remember sometimes these feelings of really being able to sit down somewhere, even switch off your phone and be able to have an interaction with somebody to see what's going on. And I remember when I that was the moment, the trigger, when I uninstalled some of the news apps in my phone, because when I saw that somebody was beating someone in the country being a few thousand miles away from me, I thought, do I really need to know this? I'd love to know what's happening around me where I live, but I have no time to do it because I have no time to get out, to talk to the people, to find out what's going on, maybe to get inspired by some things that are around me. But I actually know who was hitting somebody, 10,000 miles away from me in the morning, which I have absolutely no influence on. And it shouldn't even, not that I don't care about things like that, because I do, but this is just an example of the overwhelming flow of information. And the problem is, and there is even this amazing documentary on Netflix that many of you for sure watched. It's The Social Dilemma, obviously. Yeah, many watched, and many say, wow, we're so surprised. I want to tell you, I was not surprised. I knew it, which still doesn't stop me from doing this. And I need to buy this device where you put your phone for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Completely agree.
But that's what we're talking about. I mean, we are entering the digital era, and that's what everybody's saying. And I'm saying this too. And I also coach companies and help them implement all the remote tools to build an entire remote infrastructure, because this is what you need. But again, we are not robots. We need other people. Okay. And that's what Lisa is doing here with Gable. So what I can say to wrap up slowly, not to bore you to death, but I know you're not bored because I see your comments and likes and hearts and everything. So thank you for that. But I just want to say, Lisa, I really, really strongly support Gable and you. And I am absolutely convinced that there is a super bright future.
Thank you. Thank you for actually, I enjoy this conversation so much. I think that basically this is what we're trying to build. We're trying to build those hyper local spaces to get to know your environment, to get to know your neighbors even, you know. But I think this is the future. I think I see it as a bright future. I think there are so many opportunities that overweigh the challenges, and I'm excited. I'm really, really excited, and I'm happy to be to. I'm honored to have some fraction of the journey of helping others in having this, you know, change, this mind shift change, and this is what we hope that Gable will bring to the world. Definitely.
Fingers crossed. And thanks for watching. Please comment, share. And if you have questions, you always know where to find us. I'm pretty much everywhere. Lisa is too. I can do that. Have a great day, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.